Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Svaparandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahaganaraguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganaralita Sri Visakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Kopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण प्रभु नंदत प्रणाम जय श्री प्रभुपाद. Okay, today we continue the chapter 3, text number 25. Sakta karmanya vida avidvamso yatha karmanti bharata kuryad vidvams tata saktas chikirshur loka sangraham. Saktaha being attached, karmani prescribed duties, avidvamsaha the ignorant, yatha as much as, kurvanti do it. Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Kuryat must do, Vidvan the learned, Yatatha thus, Asaktaha, without attachment, Chikirshuhu desiring to, Lokasangraham, leading to people in general. Translation. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, similarly the learned may also act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Purport. A person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated. Different person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like the ignorant person, who is too much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his own sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the results of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Text 26. Na buddhibedam janayed ajnanam karma sangina yoshayed sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. Na, do not buddhi bedam disrupt the intelligence, janayet do, ajnanam of the foolish, karma sanginam attached to fruitive work. Yoshayet, dotail, sarva all, karmani work, vidvan learn, yuktaha all engaged, samcharan practicing. Translation. Let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruitive action. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. Purport. Vedais sacharvaim aham eva vedya, that is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals, all performances of sacrifice, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all directions for material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. Through sense regulations, however, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, still a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals, because in direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results simply by following the prescribed duties of a particular person. 27. प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्मणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा कर्ताम् इति मन्यते. Prakrite, of material nature, kriyamanani, all being done, gunai, by the modes, karmani, activities, sarvasaha, all kinds of, ahankara vimuda, bewildered by false ego, atma, the spirit soul, karta, doer, aham, I, iti, thus, manyate, thinks, translation. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Report. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature, under the order of the Supreme Person of Godhead, and such his bodily and mental activity should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Person of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses, of the material body, for due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego. For due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. Haribol. Okay, Prabhu, do you want to continue? Hare Krishna, Ganga Prabhu, my humble obeisances, all glories.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat.
Haribol. Okay, Prabhu, you can continue. Hare Krishna.
Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Sattvavitu mahabaho na karma vibhagayo gunaguneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. One knowledge of the absolute truth, whom mighty armored, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference. Prabhu, scroll.
Is it visible?
Prabhu, scroll. Sami,
Which part are you? Are you in the word to word? This. Can you see? I think it's coming like late. Is it now visible? Haribol, Haribol. Can you see, Prabhu? Yes, I think it's coming like late.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Is it now working?
Sorry, Prabhu, my internet went down.
Yes, Prabhu, no problem.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Can I? Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. You can continue.
Tatvavitu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayo Gunaguneshu Vartanta Vedimatva Sanjatin. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty are one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Om himself the future result. Hare Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, can you hear me?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. I can hear you.
Yes, Prabhu. Translation. One who is in the knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Armored, does not engage himself in the senses and gratification, knowing well that this in work in devotion and work for future results. The knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward association. And partial of the supreme he realizes that somehow or other he is entrapped in the material naturally attached. He knows that his material is under the supreme control of the Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by Srimad Bhagavatam, who knows in 3D for actual position. Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Did you read it?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, it comes a little bit late. The voice comes a little bit late. Like it comes like 10 seconds. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I can read the next one.
Prabhu.
Prakriterguna sammuda sajjante guna karmasu tan akrishna vido mandan krishna vinna vichalayet. Prakrite, impelled by the material modes. Guna sammuda, befooled by material identification. Sajjante, become, engaged. Guna karmasu, in material activities. Tan, all those. Akrishnavidaha, persons with a poor fund of knowledge. Mandan, lazy to understand self-realization. Krishnavits, one who is in actual knowledge. Nam, may not. Vichala yet, try to agitate. Translation. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Purport. Persons who are unknowledgeably falsely identified. Persons who are unknowledgeable falsely identify with gross material consciousness and are full of material designations. This body is a gift of the material nature, and one who is too much attached to the bodily consciousness is called mandan or lazy person without understanding of the spirit soul. Ignorant men think of the body as the self. Simply, bodily connections with others are accepted as kinsmanship. The land in which the body is obtained is the object of worship, and the formalities of religious rituals are considered ends in themselves. Social work, nationalism, and altruism are some of the activities for such material designated persons. Under the spell of such designations, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is a myth, and so they are not so interested. Such bewildered persons may even be engaged in such primary moral principles of life as non-violence and similar materially benevolent work. Those who are, however, enlightened in spiritual life should not try to agitate such material engrossed persons. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activity silently. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness, and therefore Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. Hare Krishna Varun Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, you can read the next verse.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Nam all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Ribol.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यासाय धयात्मा चेतसा निरास्तिर्निर्मनो भूत्वा युद्धस्व विगत च जीवरः. Myi, unto me, sarvani, all sorts of karmani activity, sannyasaya, giving up completely, adhyatma, with full knowledge of the self, chetasa, consciousness, nirashiha, without desire for profit, nirmamha, without ownership, bhutva, so being, yuddhasva, fight, vigatta, chavaraha, without being lethargic. There a translation. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with mind, intent on me, and without desire for gain, and free from egoism and leisurely fight. These verses clearly indicate the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna. because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of living entities is to become subordinate to the desire of the Lord. Arjun was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chaitasaha Nirsiha, means that one has to act on the order of the Master. Nor should on one ever expect a fruitive result. The cashier may account millions of dollars for his employer, but he has do not claim a cent of himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purpose of my or unto me. And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance of execute such an stern order which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way one may becomes vigata chvana, on without favorish mentality of lethargy. Everyone according to his quality and position has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness as described above, that will lead on the path of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you can read the next one also. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You can read also.
Sujay Prabhu.
But Prabhu?
Sujay Prabhu.
Yes, Sujay Prabhu, you can also read.
Okay, I am read Prabhu. I am read.
Okay, Prabhu.
ये मेन मातम इदम नित्यम अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवा श्रद्धवन्तो न सूयन्तो मच्यन्ते तु तेपि कर्मभिः. Ye, those, me, my, matam, injunctions, idam, this, nityam, eternal function, anustishanti, execute regularly, manavaha, humankind, shraddha, vantaha, with faith and devotion, anusayantaha, without envy, mucyante, becomes free, te, all of them, api, even, karmabhi, from the bondage of the law of fruitive action. one who one who execute his duty according to my injunction, and who follows these teachings faithfully without envy, becomes free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Purport: the injection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the essence of all Vedic wisdom, therefore is eternally true without exception. As the Vedas are eternal, so the truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injection without envying the Lord. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action, but in an ordinary man, with firm faith in the internal injection of the Lord, even through unable to execute such order, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma in the beginning. Of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injection of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Yetvetad yashu yanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvagyana vimudam stan viddinestana chetasa. Ye those two, however, etad this apyashu yantaha out of envy, na do not anushtitanti regularly perform, me my matam injunction, sarvagyana all sorts of knowledge, vimudan perfectly befooled, tan they are, viddhi know it well, nastan all ruined, achetasa without Krishna consciousness. Translation. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not practice them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and doomed to ignorance and bondage. Purport. The flaw of not being Krishna conscious is clearly stated herein. Where is this verse? 332. The flaw of not being Krishna conscious is clearly stated herein. As there is punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Executive Head, so there is certainly punishment for the disobedience of the order of the Supreme Person of Godhead. A disobedient person, however great he may be, is ignorant of his own self, of the Supreme Brahman and Paramatma and the Person of Godhead due to vacant heart. Therefore, there is no hope of perfection of life for him. Text 33. Sarcham chestate svasyaha prakrite jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. Sadrisham accordingly chestate tries svasyaha in one's own nature. Prakrite modes jnanavan the learned api although prakritim nature janti undergo bhutani all living entities nigraha suppression kim what karishyati can do. Translation. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows his nature. What can repression accomplish? Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the 7th chapter, 7:14. Therefore, even for the most highly educated persons on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly boast to be advanced in the science, but inwardly or privately they are completely under the particular modes of nature, which they are unable to surpass. Academically, one may be learned, but because of his strong association with material nature, he is in bondage. Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should suddenly give up his prescribed. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus one may be freed from the clutches of Maya. Text number 34. Indriyasyandriyasyarte ragadvesau vyavastitau tayornavasam agachet tau hi esha paripathinau. Indriyasya of the senses, indriyasyarte in the sense objects, raga attachment, veshav also in detachment, vyavishtatau put under regulations, tayoho of them, na never, vasam control, agachete, agachet, one should come, tau those, he certainly, are asya, his, paripatinau, stumbling blocks. Translation. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purport. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification, but those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. For example, according to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These propensities are to be curbed. Otherwise, they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. And yet we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations, unattached to them. Because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray. As much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads, although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. But action in the loving service of Krishna detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to detach from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Prabhu, you can read this next one.
Shreyan Svadarmo Viguna Paradharma Svanushtitat Svadarme Nidanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhavayava Shreyan far better Swadharma once prescribed duties Viguna even faulty Paradharma from duties for others Anushtitat and perfectly done. Padharme in one's prescribed duty. Nidanam, destruction. Shreya, better. Paradharma, duties prescribed for others. Aya avaha, dangerous. Translation. It's far better to discharge one's prescribed duties even though they may be faulty and another's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Further, one should therefore discharge these prescribed duties fully giving one rather than those prescribed for others. Prescribed duties complement one's psychophysical condition, the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But both materially or spiritually, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performance. When one when one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for particular situations if not needed other. For example, a Brahmana, who is the mode of goodness, is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya, who is in the mode of passion, is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished or following the rules of violence and to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana, or the Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In transcendental stage, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishvamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashurama was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so, but as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Haribol, thank you. And I'm sorry about everything.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm at my brother's house. He also says something at the background. I'm sorry about that.
No, we didn't hear it, so it's okay.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Should I say? Okay, Haribol, we continue from text 36 tomorrow because I need to do some cooking today. So now let's read Shiksastakam prayers. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreyah kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नामनामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिः तत्रार्पित पिता स्मरणेत नियता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्नमापि दुर्दैव मे दृश्यामि न जनिननुरागः
Vinadapi sunichena tarorapi shahishnuna manina manatena kirtaniya sadahari.
Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktirahaitu kitvayi.
ऐनन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विस्मय भवं बुधो कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्ततधूलि सदृशं विचिन्तय
Yanam kalak ashrikaraya padanam bhaktaharjaya kula kulakarni chitam bapugada tavanam grahane pavishrati.
Yuga itam nimeshena chakshusha pravirsha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name.
आशिलस्य वा पादरतां विनष्टु माम् अदर्शनां नमर्तां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणस्तु स एव नापरः
Haribol, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energy. There are not even hard and fast rule for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the tree. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause, this devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick up me from this ocean of death and place me as an of the tombs of at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separation, some considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if handle me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
हरि बोल श्री शिक्षास्तकम की जाय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की
Jai,
जाय पंचतत्व की
Jai,
जाय नित्यानंद प्रभु की
Jai,
जाय श्री कृष्ण
Jai,
चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जाय जगत गुरु श्री
Jai,
भक्ति
Jai,
वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय निताय
Jai,
गौर प्रेमानंदे
Jai,
हरि
Jai,
बोल
Haribol.
Jai.